Coach, just first and foremost, before we really focus on the offense with the majority of my questions, you've had a scrimmage since the last time I saw you. Just how's spring ball gone over the last week? Or I think you had a handful of practices and a scrimmage.
Well, it's spring ball, and you're going to have some guys with some bumps and bruises. It's the next man up, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a lot of our depth develop, seeing some of the backups getting their opportunities, and when their number's called, they got to be ready to go.
Well, you don't need much reinforcement, right? Because you had that towards the tail end of your football season. Really, that's what you told the guys now. Just the message of how quickly you can go from number 4 on that depth chart to number 1.
Absolutely, and you're seeing that. And you're seeing some guys that are taking advantage of the opportunity. I've been really pleased with Dejon Collins and how he's really played. He's been a real surprise, or not a surprise, but he's been a real pleasant surprise, I guess. We knew he had talent. Carter Heron, another guy you're starting to notice out there. It's getting some reps. And then you got some backups like Chris Childers, he's jumping right in there and competing for that one spot, taking advantage of that opportunity. You got Matt Sora in there competing. So you're getting some guys who are getting opportunities and taking advantage of it.
No doubt a lot of it's precautionary of making sure you're looking at guys and getting them overall to the fall. But when you're in a situation like right now where you have 2 running backs, the challenge that is for you guys maybe in terms of drills and what you can run in a practice.
Well, yeah, we're going to get everybody back. We had a couple guys sick and guys bumped up. They'll be back tomorrow. But, for the most part, taking advantage of that and getting guys in there. These reps are so valuable for these guys because they haven't played a lot of football. And so a lot of these guys are getting their opportunities. This is for really their first time learning the system and getting in there. So it's been positive in that sense.
Let's go through your offense a bit. Let's start up front. You always say when you look at an opponent, you want to see how experienced they are up front because it's going to dictate really how good of an offense they have. When you look up front on what you have, what do you like?
Well, I like the continuity. This group has played together for now 3 years. They've got some good experience. They're playing well together. And, now it's the next guys. Developing that depth. We've got a couple guys out that will get after spring, but it's their turn. And you're seeing a guy like Joe Vasquez jump in there and do some really good things. But it's a veteran group, and they're gonna lead us, and we're gonna follow behind them.
Don't want to put any position like they're the ones with a lot of pressure in terms of improving from a year ago. But the spotlight on the tight ends, you've said since you've gotten here, it's been something offensively you wanted to use. Last year, you kind of moved Mason and Lex Sowards into kind of a hybrid type position. Where do you look at your tight ends right now? Henry Woodcock was a guy who got experience last year. Ethan Cox, a local kid. Obviously, Zach Larkin, I know, leads that way. But where do you feel that group maybe needs to grow a little bit in terms of where you want to get your offense at?
Well, a year ago, the young man that really jumped out was Tynan Williams, in the spring, and you really noticed him starting to really develop. And then during the season, he really emerged as a guy we went to. And he's been the main guy that's been getting the majority of the reps with the first group. And the other 2 are coming along. So I've been pleased with those guys. They're getting better and better every day.
Running back wise, and like you mentioned, you're down to 2 right now, but regardless of health, where do you like that room in terms of the guys you have in it?
Well, Titus McCoy, not having him in the spring, we knew going into it that we were gonna hold him throughout spring. But he's a veteran guy now. Peterson Curligran, who's just out for today, will be back. But those 2 guys have been around the program and have played quite a bit of played for us in the past. But then you got a young group now that are getting in there and mixing it up and doing a real good job.
Wide receivers. Dante Hendricks, the birthday boy today, had a good catch there towards the end of your 2-minute period. But you mentioned guys like Dejon, even some other names that we may not have heard. Is there a more deeper group you have on this football team from a talent standpoint than your wide receiver group?
O-line is probably it. Wide receivers, obviously, we've got some guys that have played a lot of football. Dante Hendricks is the guy that's been leading it. Dante Jones has played a lot of football for us. Dakota Caton played a lot of football for us last year. And so you got a group of guys that have been in there mixing it up. Joe Wilt's been in there. But you're seeing other guys like Dejon Collins and Nathan Barrett and Trey Powell and guys like that jumping in there. Chenille Green, Mo Jennings. Those are some guys that haven't played a whole lot that are getting meaningful reps now.
What is it about Dejon that jumped off to you? And why, when you said surprise, it's not that, like you said, you didn't know that he had athletic ability, because if you play football at Cathedral in the state of Indiana, you're really talented. Sure. But what has he done in a year where mostly last year he was kind of rehabbing and just trying to get back towards the tail end?
Well, we knew he was a great player, and when he got here, he was just hampered a little bit with a knee, and it took some time to recover. And by the time he was cleared and was 100%. It was late in the season, so now he's 100%. He's out there, and he's having a real good spring.
Quarterback wise, of course, everyone looks at Ryan, but you even told me earlier in practice today you've liked the development of everybody. How has Ryan played a part in that and being able to help spread that through that room? But also know you give a lot of credit to what Aaron's been able to do in working with those guys each day.
Aaron's done a great job. He's a great teacher. He's a great young coach, and has really done well with that group. I've really been pleased with the three quarterbacks and how they were developing through spring. Ryan has picked up where we left off and has kept getting better. I've really been impressed with the way Curtis Wilderman is taking the workman attitude and come to work every day. And Jalil's gotten better, so we're definitely have improved at that position, and I've been pleased with the way they've commanded the offense.
A year ago, we saw Jalil from time to time maybe line up at wide receiver just because of his skill set and what he brings. Not that I want you, obviously, to spill all the surprises you have for the upcoming year, but do you still feel that Jalil is a guy where he has that skill set where it's going to be hard to keep him on the sideline and not utilize him and maybe other roles that you could foresee him having?
Well, you just don't know. This whole focus right now is at the quarterback position. But, he's got a skill set as all the quarterbacks do. They can move. They can extend plays. They can run. They can make plays on their feet and their arm. And that's what you like about them. But I thought today they made better decisions with the football. The ball was going where they want. You knew where the ball was going. They were doing a good job with that. The reads were crisp. It was windy out here, and they're still making the throws. So, I was pleased with how they came back from Tuesday and got better today.
Is there any cause for concern when you look at your offensive line and they're wearing those short shorts like their position coach and Mike Switch? Do you feel his Daisy Duke shorts are starting to spread to his lineman group?
I don't know. You got me on that one. I don't know where those things came from.